Hey, how goes it? In this video, we'll be going on a massive 2,000-mile plus journey where I feature 4 national parks. We'll be exploring the tallest peak in the state of Texas, where we observe a mysterious landscape once completely underwater. We'll walk on geological anomalies in New Mexico. Of course, we hit the open road a lot. That'll lead us across the mountains into northern Arizona, where I visit a land locked in time, a place of treasures and foreboding power. We see the arches of Utah. From there we go into canyon country. We see strange rock formations all dusted in a light rust brown. But before we can do that, we kick things off in Denver, Colorado. It's here we meet my brother. That's him walking in front of me. My plane just landed. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he's decided to lead me out into the middle of nowhere.
You see, as a kind of scaredy cat Easterner, it would scare me to be walking here late at night. We're here at Red Rocks Amphitheater, where a lot of famous concerts have happened. I remember particularly the Dave Matthews Band concert. That was a very hot-selling CD. And there's a trail that actually goes up there to the amphitheater. And this is the city of Denver.
So we tried to get into the venue and could see the rock walls surrounding it, but in the dark we just couldn't figure out where to find a gap where we could actually enter. So we decided to give up and get some sushi. The next day, my brother took me to some of his favorite local hiking. Here we are at Castlewood Canyon State Park, and here is our fearless leader here. But eventually he had to go back to his family and normal life, and I was left with nothing to do but start my journey. And for the rest of the day, all I'm doing is journeying. As someone who lives in the mid-Atlantic, I often forget how vast the distances are in the West. It will take the remainder of the day to travel the 500 miles to my overnight stop in Roswell, New Mexico. Yes, that Roswell, New Mexico.
So right now I'm in Colorado Springs. I'm about 50 miles into my journey, which is a small portion, just in my first gas tank fill. My brother very generously allowed me to use his car as he is working from home. And yeah, I have this luxurious Lexus. It's very cold where I'm from in Maryland, so I am looking forward to some warmer climes. Right now I am in Colorado Springs at a scenic overlook. I don't know if you could hear behind me, there's a lot of wind, so... But yeah, it's a little bit of an older car, so it's not gonna have all the great features. I don't believe there's cruise control on this vehicle, which is a little surprising. If there is, I don't know how to put it on. Cruise control is nice, but I can't complain. This car was free to use for the week.
So even though I'm spending long hours in a car, I was enjoying every minute with these amazing views as the landscape became more deserty. I believe that's the correct term. And I must say, I've driven many places, but the Santa Fe Trail crossing the Colorado to New Mexico border is some of the prettiest driving I've ever seen.
I just got into New Mexico. I'm at a rest stop, and it's really, really windy outside. And I just love it. Just look outside at this beautiful scenery. I'm about halfway in through my trek to Roswell. Colorado to New Mexico, there's a American byway called the Santa Fe Trail. It's just beautiful as you go down the pass and you see the plains. There's an actual tumbleweed. Yep, that's an actual tumbleweed. Yeah, actual tumbleweed. One hit me on the way to the bathroom just now. Some cows over there. Hi, cows. What's up?
As I drove the last leg towards Roswell, night fell. A perfect time to share with you all my ulterior motive for deciding to overnight in Roswell. You see, I was here to find the truth of what happened in the early days of July 1947 when a flying saucer crashed into the desert and it was covered up. First thing I did was befriend the locals, but then I got tough, asking every person on the street, where were the frickin' aliens? I knew I was on the right track as the locals all ran away from me, perhaps well aware that I was getting closer and closer to the truth. My efforts were not in vain though, as close to my hotel, I found something that I had always seen on TV, but never in real life.
Hello and good day. Today, I'd like to capture me experiencing a Whataburger for the first time ever in my life. As an adolescent growing up, I watched a lot of King of the Hill, have fond memories of that show, and I remember that people would eat at a restaurant with that W thing, but I didn't actually know what that was. I actually thought it was a Weezer shout out, and they were like, oh, this guy must like Weezer a lot, and put it on this burger joint for some reason. Until years later, I realized, oh, that's actually a burger chain that me as a Marylander had never heard of at that point. Oh, yellow. A yellow wrapper, no, that's not something I've seen. Wow. Wow. Hey, that looks like a fucking good burger, man. I mean, it reminds me of a Whopper and kind of stacked the same way, so let's have a taste of this. Not bad, not bad. So let's try another bigger inner piece. I'm just realizing there's no mayo on this. So in that case, flavor-wise, I think I prefer the Whopper. See, the magic of a burger, in my opinion, is that mixture between a tomato and mayonnaise. When those two get smushed together, flavor goodness. I'd probably like get a variation of this or a double one. The thing is, this one has a lot more bread than like an average fast food burger, I would say. Not bad. I think a double would be better though.
So day 2 begins, and not too far into the journey, I drive through the industrial town of Artesia, New Mexico. I found it pretty bad, as oil facilities tens of stories high were situated right across the street from residential neighborhoods. It also smelled terrible. I remember seeing a funk road, so I'm guessing the residents must be well aware. I then move on to my first stop of the day, Carlsbad Caverns National Park. You'll notice that I didn't feature this park, but I actually lost about half of my footage from this day of travel, including everything from Carlsbad Caverns. Luckily, I was able to salvage some footage from my next stop, Guadalupe Mountains National Park, where I set out to climb Texas's tallest peak. But because I lost all of my earlier footage, please join me at the top of the mountain and we'll explore the park on the way down. So what you're seeing now is the Chihuahuan Desert. Guadalupe Peak is among the least visited national parks, and it's not because of lack of beauty. It really is in the middle of nowhere. There is nothing for dozens of miles in either direction, and that's kind of the way I liked it. Before I forget, quick shout out for putting this cool metal pyramid here to mark the summit. It really is a morale boost for exhausted hikers like I was at the time. I was all by myself on the summit, and I decided to have lunch. Luckily for me, I had one of my favorite hiking foods, and that's Jimmy John's. I mean, but like lunch spots, how do you get better than that? I mean, how do you get better than this lunch spot? So I'll probably have this place myself for a little while longer. There are like 3 more groups coming up. I'm gonna call that rock State of Michigan Rock. It just looks like Michigan. I bet it's called Michigan Rock. It just makes sense. You know, it just makes sense. Alright, well, I'm starting my descent. At 8,751 feet, it's hard to imagine that all of this was once underwater. That's right, about 250 million years ago, where I'm hiking now was part of the western coastline of the supercontinent Pangaea, as part of an inland sea. As a result, this park has a unique hiking characteristic. Yeah. I really like hiking here. It's like, the rock is not, it's the opposite of slippery, with like Maryland and, well, the mid-Atlantic Appalachian Trail stuff, you're gonna have like, just a little bit of moisture. Like even rocks that don't look slippery are slippery. Or here it's like, it's more like volcanic rock,
I don't know what it is technically, geologically, but it just has great traction. Although, obviously, I mean, if you don't have decent enough boots, though, it's going to be painful, though. Does it get better than that? Does it get better? Seriously, like this hillside here behind me, this could be in West Virginia. I mean, it's so green. It's like the greenest thing I've seen my entire trip. I mean, this is just perfect for descent. It's just so fast because, like, there's no big stones in the way. Man, this rock is just so grippy on your boots. I had a celebratory joint planned, and I brought the joint, but I didn't bring a lighter. I tried to rub 2 sticks together. I was desperate. Other hikers passing would wondering what I was. No, I'm just joking. But, yeah. I wish I brought the lighter. So in terms of hiking conditions, this place was very windy when I visited in March. What I'm doing now, Guadalupe Peak, is the main draw of the park and the most intense hiking trail. Round trip is only about 8.5 miles, with a 3,000 feet elevation gain. As I get closer to the bottom, you'll see that there are a lot of switchbacks. However, the trail was really smooth, with very few obstacles in the way. For reference, I finished up everything in about 4 hours. However, keep in mind, I hike pretty fast and don't take a lot of breaks, so it may take you longer depending on your condition. Wow. The winds have kind of died down. Yeah, it's getting late in the afternoon. It's, when did I start this? It's about 4:30 now. I mean, it's March. It's early March, so 7 o'clock's the nighttime. So yeah, I'm pretty much done. I see the parking lot. I mean, I can see the brands of each car, so I'm pretty sure I'm good. Texas is interesting. I noticed that the guys here, a lot of Texans, like the men, are like very burly. I mean, they just look like they can beat me up really easily. As I was getting towards the end of my hike and to my car, the light was getting really low. I, however, was not done. At least, I didn't want to be done. You see, besides this main area of the park, there's a separate area a few miles east on Route 180 called McKittrick Canyon. This is where you find another notable hike known as the Permian Reef Trail. I wanted to do as much of it as I could before night fell. After driving to the McKittrick Canyon area, I was disappointed to see that park rangers had already gated it off. I was honestly a little annoyed as there was still a good 2 hours of daylight left. With nothing left to do, I had no choice but to get in my car and start my journey west. However, my spirits were immediately lifted as I was treated with some of the best driving views I had ever seen. With the sun just on the horizon, for a short period of time it felt like I was chasing the sunset as I drove west, making permanent a beautiful state that was only designed to be temporary. I loved how it felt like I was the only one out there. I was at the edge of a video game map where I could temporarily forget about my main and side quests in life. I wanted for it to go on forever. That would not be the case though, as the only decent sized place around with cheap hotels was none other than the huge border city of El Paso, Texas, where I was headed. While driving to El Paso, I would eventually lose my race with the sun and night would fall. Now I only had to find my hotel in the sprawling city so I can heal my body after a day out in the wilderness. Here I am now, it's day 3 and I'm at the White Sands National Park. Before I get into it, let's do a quick recap. So day 1 was spent traveling about 500 miles from Denver, Colorado to Roswell, New Mexico, where I failed to uncover the truth about them aliens after trying for a good 45 minutes. On day 2, I start off early and do Carlsbad Caverns in the morning and Guadalupe Peak in the afternoon. After an exhausting day of walking, I have a beautiful drive towards El Paso, Texas. El Paso was a nice enough city. My hotel was another story though. I quickly discovered why it was so cheap.
It was right next to the massive Interstate 10 and the car and truck traffic was deafening. Furthermore, the Wi-Fi was so bad that the videos on my phone only partially uploaded, leading me to lose footage like I mentioned before. Thanks to a pair of earplugs, I managed to get some sleep and day 3 begins. And though it's not too far as the crow flies, speed limits were lowered through tiny desert towns and it took a few hours to get to White Sands. This place is so far into the middle of nowhere that there's a missile range next to the park as well as an Air Force base. I actually had to go through US border security getting there, which was kind of a surprise this far into the country.
Okay, so we made it to the White Sands National Park and Monument. And I'm on the Alkali Flat Trail, which is really cool. Wow, this piece of sand is really hard to get. I'm trying to find the next marker. Can't really find it.
So things to know about this park. Sandboarding is a popular activity. I didn't do it myself as it honestly didn't appeal to me, however this is what I saw the majority of visitors doing. I decided to hike the Alkali Flat Trail because it was the longest and most difficult. However, pretty much all of the trails will be a bunch of white sand and then some salt flats. It is absolutely stunning. The white sand, by the way, is gypsum. It turns out this park was part of the same inland sea as Guadalupe Peak from the day before. The area I'm walking on now, from what I understand, was a basin in this ancient sea, and as the land dried out over 250 million years, the gypsum slowly collected in this area due to a combination of erosion, some stuff about winds I don't really understand, and the surrounding mountains trapping it all in.
Real crunchy. So these are like, this is a salt flat. It's very interesting. The first time I've ever really walked on one.
Walking on these dunes feels just as you would expect it to, like walking on sand at the beach. Keep in mind that some of these grades are steep. In between many of these dunes are salt flats, which have the consistency more or less of broken asphalt. Since there are no trees or rocks to blaze, the trail is marked using these flexible metal poles. These dunes shift around a lot, so several of these poles, like the one I'm looking at now, end up getting buried. Now another reason I picked the Alkali Flat Trail was because I knew it would reach the border with the military proving grounds. And let's face it, that's just cool. So after about 2 miles of going up and down these sandy dunes with little reprieve, I finally got to the Alkali Flat where I saw warning signs ahead. I was by myself in this section of the trail and couldn't help feeling like I was in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
So, yeah, I guess there's like military stuff over there. I remember in the map that there's like military base. And this is where they do some missile testing, and it says unexploded musicians. Not musicians. Anyway, we're looping back. I gotta find my bearings. I thought this was supposed to be counterclockwise, but this is going clockwise, so I gotta figure out what's going on.
I was a bit confused at this point because all this time I thought I had been going counterclockwise on the trail, but it turns out I was going the other way. I was expecting more of the same on the other side of the loop, but I was pleasantly surprised to see mountains, and strangely even a tiny gas station miles and miles into the distance. It was a stark reminder that this place was indeed finite. I decided to just lay down and soak it all in because I really just did not want to leave. I just wanted to be like the gypsum crystals blowing forever in the wind. My lollygagging at the dunes certainly didn't do me any favors as it was late afternoon by the time I got done.
Certainly unique. So I'm driving across sand, but this sand is really, well, at least what's beneath it are like salt flats. So, yeah, but it's really bizarre.
My next location was a whopping 430 miles away in Holbrook, Arizona, with the GPS estimating I'd get there by 10 p.m. so I buckled down for the 6-hour-plus drive on New Mexico's free and clear interstates. That was the plan, at least. You see, I thought I would just take I-25 to I-40 to Holbrook. Foolishly, I just obeyed Google Maps without much scrutiny and found myself instead a victim of Google Maps efficiency. Instead, it took me on Route 60 going through towns like Pie Town, New Mexico. It would supposedly save me about 15 minutes, however, about 3 to 4 hours into my journey I found myself in a blinding snowstorm. It was pretty unexpected and nerve-wracking, as the road was slick, visibility was poor, and my unfamiliarity with the area led me to driving only 40 miles per hour for a long time with the hazard lights on. Due to this slow rate of travel, I didn't make it to my destination until midnight. Furthermore, I didn't have a warm bed to jump into. My destination for the night was a glamping tent instead of a hotel.
Hey, what's going on? So I got into my glamping tent. Yeah, it took me a little while to figure out how to get the heater working. It's over down there, but you put a gas container on it. So you can see I got a little whiskey here. Like, I got in after midnight, and oh my god, Google Maps, man. Basically, just to save like a little time, Google Maps sent me like through the mountains, and it didn't save me any time because like there was like a snow blowing, and I like literally couldn't see, when I was driving at like 40 miles an hour. It's okay, I'm here now, made it, feeling good. I mean, I don't really, it's about 30 degrees. I don't feel cold right now, although I'll probably feel it in a little while. And with this heater here, with this little heat source here, it's like, alright, I'm gonna have a whiskey. I don't have to go right to bed, but we'll be going to bed soon. I'm rather tired.
Oh, what's going on? 7:30, 7:25. It was a really nice sleep. I mean, I always sleep really good, intense, and outdoors, and this is really nice. It was like about 25 degrees overnight, but luckily I have this little portable buddy Mr. Heater thing that, at around 5 o'clock I woke up because I was really cold. This thing was sputtering out, that gas can, but I put another gas can in. You can see behind me, like, these are the used gas cans. There's my clothes and stuff there, and I'm gonna be mustering the willpower to actually get out of the sleeping bag. The sleeping bag's super warm. For a while, I couldn't, right after that thing sputtered out, for some reason I couldn't get it going again for a good half hour or so, and just crawled into the sleeping bag as deep as I could go. So yeah, let's start the day. Ooh, it's cold. As you can see, there was a snowstorm. But this car handled it beautifully. It's below freezing right now. Very cold. Right here, you can see there's not much. I don't have, like, for instance, I'm missing cell phone signal and that kind of thing. Very beautiful, though. But there's not much around here. Oh, the stars were amazing. I know why it's called Starlight Tent now, but it was really amazing. Anyway, we're going to be heading out soon. It's out in the wilderness is when I really have an appreciation for petroleum products. I mean, seriously. I mean, look, there's like nothing out here. I came in on this like rustic dirt road. Yet this car runs reliably. I was able to stay warm with this, I don't even know the gas mixture for this, with that heater. I mean, it's just, I know we're moving towards electric and other power sources, but, we should never talk badly about petroleum products, because really, that's how we got here. So, mad respect to you. So day 4 starts, and as my tent site didn't include a continental breakfast, I go into town to get McDonald's before making the short trip down Route 66 to the park. There are 2 entrances to use, and I start at the north entrance, where the first attraction driving south is the amazing painted desert. I'm at the Petrified Forest National Park, back with the blue shades but a thicker coat because we are in northern Arizona. It's about 5,000 feet in elevation, at least it was in Holbrook where I stayed the night, and it was cold. Right now it's about freezing, but I got a nice warm coffee. I saw some tour buses still with students, so this is like field trip territory. I'm gonna try to hit up the shorter trails that I think that the tourists will do, because I don't think they'll have students do the longer trails. So yeah, that's my plan. 4 trails today, total of about 7 miles. So we'll see how that goes.
So it's super early, so I'm pretty much gonna do the most popular stuff first. I'm doing this Blue Mesa Trail, which is supposed to be less than a mile long, and yeah, it's very beautiful so far. I mean, it's like it's what I imagine the Badlands would look like, actually. Basically, the best stuff apparently is at the bottom of the park, at the southern end. So this is only a mile long, and yeah, very beautiful so far. I don't know how to describe it. I should really educate myself on this geological stuff. Of course, this would be a sample of the petrified wood. It's so weird. It feels just like stone, because it is stone. It's just hard to imagine a place that's so inert that this kind of thing exists. Got more of it down here. Wow, that's so weird, man. So yeah, pretty much done with Blue Mesa already. So this is a unique park, as in there are many, many short trails. You're not going to have like a huge backpacking hike in this park. I'm going to move on to another really short but popular hike called the Crystal Forest Trail. It's still not even 10 o'clock yet, and I'm just trying to beat like the charter buses full of high school kids. This is where it's stopped to. This is the Crystal Forest Trail. Yeah, it's very beautiful here. Still cold.
What we're looking at now are technically fossils, primarily made of quartz. 225 million years ago, where we are now was once a rainforest atop a floodplain in southwestern Pangaea, the supercontinent. Over time, the area would experience flooding and volcanic activity. While most of the rainforest would fall and decay, some trees became buried under sediment, effectively sealing them from the oxygen and microorganisms that would have turned them to rot and allowing them to petrify. The process of petrification takes millions of years. For these trees, silica-rich water seeped into the sediment where they lay. Over time, the silica-rich water would replace the organic matter from the original trees. As more time passed, the silica would eventually become the quartz we see today, with different colors occurring due to various impurities from the original silica-rich water.
Well, finishing up this trail again. Just really cool. I wish I could express myself more eloquently, but it's just a really cool place.
If a lot of walking isn't your thing, there are plenty of views just driving the main road. Here we see the tepes. That's tepes, not teepees, which I think is Native American for mountain with blanket on top. Near the middle of the park is more beautiful painted desert. I soak it all in before going to my next stop, which is the Visitor Center at the south. Adjacent to the Southern Visitor Center is the Giant Log Trail. As the name implies, this is where you find the biggest pieces of petrified wood. The log I'm looking at now, I believe, is the largest log in the entire park, though I didn't check. Anyways, now I'm on to my final hike, which is the AGATE House and Long Logs Trail. This is the only real, I would say, hike in the entire park. As you can see, these logs are longer than the giant ones, but not as wide. They're a lot more plentiful here as well. When walking this trail, then I realized that this place is magical. The petrified forest is something permanent and frozen in time. In its unique chemistry exist millions of years of wisdom that our own humanity cannot comprehend. There's a power here that exudes. It reminded me to approach life with more humility.
Alright, now we're on the Long Logs Trail. Like, they're like complete trees here. Like that. This thing here used to be a complete tree. And, yeah, that's cool. It's a half mile of just long logs. If you are a fan of poop jokes, this is the trail for you. And I gotta say, this is definitely the best hike. This is a hiker's hike, you know. Well, I mean, it's all paved. It's not a hike, but it's a hiker's hike, so I like it for that. Hey, welcome to the AGATE house. I guess this is made out of petrified wood. I guess they collected the petrified wood and tried to get it to resemble a house. But it's interesting. It's cool. I mean, this is the master bedroom. I think there was like a home office at some point. But yeah, pretty cool. Built a house out of petrified wood. This is like among the coolest places I've been to.
So after visiting the AGATE house, my final planned hike, I decided it was time to leave, although I was in no rush. So, quick recap. So far we've gone about 1,300 miles and featured 3 national parks. Our next national park is Arches. However, that was still 300 miles away. So we hit the open road again, and this time it's a place where I'm familiar. I get to experience the golden brown hues of northeastern Arizona before arriving in the canyon country of southeastern Utah. As night fell, I was looking forward to my lodging in Moab, Utah. I'm here for 2 nights this time. As opposed to cheap motels and glamping tents, this time I decided to do things a little bit different. I had to wait till the next morning to truly appreciate it though.
And of course, we have that great view. Man, I could stay here forever, really.
So day 5 begins, and I immediately knew that Arches would be different than the previous park simply based on leaving my hotel lobby, where I saw several tour groups assembling to visit. Perhaps it's common knowledge, but I personally had no idea Arches was as popular as it was. Though it was a random Wednesday during the winter, I easily saw more than 10 times the number of people than all the other parks I visited combined. Keeping true to my strategy, I try to visit the most popular trails early, hoping to beat the crowds. However, for my first destination, the Delicate Arch, crowds were unavoidable.
So yes, on the Delicate Arch Trail, very, very crowded. This is by far the most crowded place I've been so far this trip. Different vibe here in Arches National Park. In Moab in general, the people here are definitely on the more affluent side.
It was a fun and easy hike, I have to say. I like how there was real exposure, and the Delicate Arch was beautiful. As you could see, though, there was a line for photo ops under the arch. It was something I could have personally done without, so I decided to move on. The next major hike I had planned was at the Devil's Garden, another popular spot with a much higher density of arches. Like with Petrified Forest, there is a main road with amazing views. What you're looking at now are the LaSalle Mountains, which are often visible while exploring Arches. What you see behind me here is the Salt Valley. The road is not too long, and after not too much time, I make it to the Devil's Garden. The trail starts out innocently enough, and you can view several impressive arches while sticking to the main path. You can, however, extend your hike to a total of about 5.5 miles by using the Primitive Trail. You can think of this as unlocking bonus arches. Of course, that's what I was going for. And quite frankly, I didn't expect much from this Primitive Trail. but it turned out to be a full-body, hair-raising experience, and that was just the way I liked it.
Okay, so this does actually get pretty primitive. There's like cairns and they're really hard to see. Yeah, no joke, this is the real deal. I love this hike so far. I love it. And again, we see the LaSalle Mountains in the distance.
Something strange then happened. I looked around and found myself all alone. There was a dead silence, something I thought I wanted that actually ended up sending a chill down my spine.
Solitude can be found in these national parks. It's dead quiet down here. I love it. Well, I made it to Private Arch. It's mine. It's private, at least until the people come by behind me.
So here I am doing an optional offshoot called the Private Arch Trail, and going beyond the Private Arch, I found myself on top of these arches, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt like a total badass at the time.
Wow, this is awesome. So that's the trail I came in on over there. So I just have to remember to stay to the left of the Private Arch to get back. One thing I take back is saying that this was easy to navigate. It was at the beginning, but these, like all the shrubbery and sand, they make what looks like correct paths that could be trails. That's what's so confusing. There are a lot of paths that could be trails. So yeah, it's been hard to navigate. Look at the snowfall. I don't know if you could see that, but it's like these like little packing popcorn kind of like so interesting. That's snow. Okay, made it to the double O arch. One O is atop the other. Cool. And that was a great hike, by the way.
Please be warned, this primitive trail has a lot of exposure and is a full body hike necessitating at the very least a grippy pair of boots.
It is a little nerve-wracking, but wide enough arch that I could walk on it. And this is where you're supposed to go. Look at the trail sign behind me. I love this trail. Look, this is what you're supposed to do.
I had this nervous look on my face because the trail was just a few feet wide at this point with drops of hundreds of feet on both sides. Once done with the trail, I take in a couple more views right on the main road. I take in the LaSalle Mountains one last time before leaving. I wasn't headed back to the hotel though. I wanted to go to the nearby national park of Canyonlands. Though there wasn't enough time to start a hike, I wanted to at least see it. So I went there and drove the main road and checked out the vistas. To me, it was the perfect conclusion to the trip, as I was once again completely by myself, again on the edge of a video game map. However, night was falling, and in reality these lands are inhospitable. It would soon be time to go back.
Hey, so we can't spend too much time here, but we did make it to Canyonlands today. It's 5:30 and sunset's officially at 6 o'clock, 6:15 or something. So can't do much here. I'm just gonna go to the Grand Vista Point and yeah, that'll be that. But I love the scenery here. Wow. So this is the Bucks Canyon in Canyonlands National Park. Now again, I don't have a lot of time here. I'm just kind of going through a couple of the major vistas. So this is Bucks Canyon. my impression is very beautiful park. It's snowing right now, so maybe I'm biased, but it just looks really pretty. Of course, it's very cloudy, but, you know, that's not the canyon's fault. I noticed there are a lot of, like, crows and vultures on the road, really large crows.
So with that avian hot take, it really was time to go. No more travel today, just back to my hotel. There's a hot tub with my name on it. So it's the last day, and this has just spent traveling the 350 miles back to Denver, Colorado. This is arguably one of the best stretches of American highway, the I-70 going through the Rocky Mountains. I encounter a little more snow, but nothing too bad, counting down the miles until I see my fearless leader brother so I could return the car to him. We hit an open mic and enjoy a night out. It was a great trip. Over 2,100 miles driven. Before we go, let's listen to this ripping tune from my brother. And thanks so much for watching.